From Scripps Sports, welcome to the Big Sky Conference Football Preview Show.
Your 2025 college football season is here, and bring on another exciting fall in the Big Sky Conference. 3 of those teams have already kicked off in week 0. The rest on deck this week, except for the Montana Grizzlies. Thanks for joining us, and welcome to the Big Sky Conference Preview Show. I'm Scott Breen, along with the energetic Tom Wiley.
Tom Wiley here in the flesh, ready to get this season kicked off. And over the next hour, we'll look at the biggest storylines in the Big Sky this season as the conference continues to be one of the premier leagues in the entire FCS. Now, the Bobcats of Montana State have played in 2 of the past 4 FCS National Championship games. Expectations understandably high. They were picked to win the Big Sky by both the media and the league's coaches. Montana picked second by the media. The Grizzlies reached the championship to conclude the 2023 season and made the playoffs last year. 3 more playoff teams from a year ago rounded out the top 5 in the preseason poll. UC Davis checking in at number 3, Idaho at number 4, and Northern Arizona at 5. Sacramento State, perhaps the most interesting program in the FCS, was 6th.
Rounding out your preseason poll, Idaho State, which as a 30-point underdog just pushed UNLV to the limit, falling only 38-31 on Saturday, followed by Eastern Washington and Weber State. That's a testament to the league's depth more than anything. The Bengals are a trendy pick to surprise some folks this season, and Eastern Washington and, well, Weber State showed last year that they can hang with just about anybody. Portland State dropped Saturday's opener 42-zip to Tarleton State. Cal Poly in Northern Colorado rounding out the rankings.
Well, the Bobcats had a historic season in 2024, going 15-0 before losing to North Dakota State in that FCS championship game.
But it'll be a new-look Montana State team after graduating stalwarts like Tommy Mellott and Brody Grebe. The cupboard isn't bare, though, for Coach Brent Vigen. 10 starters back for the Bobcats, including All-American Taco Dowler and reigning Big Sky Freshman of the Year, Adam Jones. The offensive line has a few key pieces back as well, like tackle Titan Fleischman, but everybody's eager to see what the quarterback position looks like under first-year offensive coordinator Pete Sturbick. Transfer Justin Lemson was just named the starter on Monday. The California native started his career at Syracuse, then played the past 2 seasons at Stanford.
Defensively, the Cats should be strong in the front 7 with Paul Brott and Kenneth Iden IV returning on the line, and experienced linebackers like Neil Daly and Bryce Grebe back in the mix. Secondary, that'll feature a bunch of new faces. Only Caden Dowler returns as a starter, but he's been plagued by injuries throughout his career.
Of course, MSU dives right into the fire opening Saturday at 7th-ranked Oregon. The Ducks favored to win by almost 30 points. Our Grace Lawrence has more with the Cats as they kick off the 2025 campaign.
MTN Sports' Grace Lawrence here in Bozeman inside Bobcat Stadium as Montana State is preparing for their Week 1 matchup against one of the top teams in the FBS. The Bobcats will be headed to Eugene, Oregon on Saturday to take on the Ducks. Justin Lampson, who was named the starting quarterback for the Cats on Monday, has experience against Oregon. He got his first career start at Stanford against the Ducks in 2023 and explained what stands out most about them going into Saturday.
I think the biggest thing with Oregon is just, they got athletes, right? I think any team at that level is going to have some guys that can go. I think it'll be a good challenge for us, and, I'm looking forward to playing those guys there.
MSU comes into this season as the second best FCS team in the nation, though, and beat an FBS program last year. They want to win on Saturday just as much as the team they're facing.
I believe in our guys, and they may be bigger recruits, but, I know that guys in this locker room, we're not going to back down from a challenge.
We're looking to do whatever it takes. We have a good game plan, and it's just going to come down to details. Obviously, they have a ton of talent. I'm not going to say we're going to out-talent the University of Oregon, but we're going to be super detailed in our game plan and what we have to do.
Dan Lanning enters his 5th season as head coach at Oregon as the team is coming off an undefeated regular season and top seed into the CFP, where they ultimately fell to the reigning champions in Ohio State in the quarterfinals. They reached a program-high 10 selections in the 2025 NFL Draft and now look to replace that talent on both sides of the ball, but are exceptionally good at recruiting both out of high school and in the portal.
They are going to be disruptive up front. They do return some guys up front that did that last year, and they've added pieces like that. Less experienced certainly at quarterback than they've been the last few years. I mean, I would suggest that's going to mean, they're going to have to lean more and more on all those playmakers, and those playmakers have changed a little bit too.
That game kicks off at 1 p.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Mountain in Autzen Stadium over in Eugene, Oregon, and on the Big Ten Network. Reporting in Bozeman for Scripps Sports, I'm Grace Lawrence.
Montana State and Oregon kickoff 2 o'clock Mountain Time Saturday. You can watch it live on the Big Ten Network.
And Montana State's challenging start to the season continues next week when the Cast hosts perennial FCS power South Dakota State. Annual Gold Rush game in Bozeman. They'll be the first of 4 straight home games for MSU, which closes out non-conference play with San Diego and Mercyhurst before starting its Big Sky slates against Eastern Washington on September 27th.
And as we noted earlier, 3 Big Sky teams already have a game under the belt. UC Davis, Portland State, and Idaho State all kicked off Saturday. Take a look. Number 8 UC Davis and number 11 Mercer in what turned out to be a bizarre start to the season. Aggies in the light-colored uniforms out fast. Carter Vargas up and over. Now check out this play from first-year QB Caden Pinnock. The redshirt freshman feeling pressure, dancing, and finally breaks out of it. Then it's a foot race to the pylon. He wins it. Aggies might have something in that young quarterback. Let's look at it again. Pinnock is replacing Miles Hastings, who was one of the best quarterbacks in the entire FCS last season. Davis would go up 10-3, and then 23-3 before Mercer rallies back to make it 23-17 in the fourth. But the game got called short due to lightning strikes in the area. So this one goes down as a no contest. That could loom large come playoff time, but for now, both teams, Davis and Mercer, 0-0.
And we told you about upstart Idaho State pushing UNLV as 30-point underdogs. Bengals jumped all over the Rebels in the first quarter after a goal line stand. They go to their bag of tricks. Receiver Michael Shulikov throws it back to quarterback Jordan Cook, takes it in for the score. Idaho up 10-0 after one. Then it's Dason Brooks, the junior running back, finds some space in that Rebel defense, and he's in for the touchdown. That gives the Bengals a 17-14 lead in the third now. Bengals trailing 24-17, but not for long. Cook rolls left, heaves it to Ian Duarte. Brooks, who would give Idaho a 31-24 lead in the fourth, but UNLV scored 14 unanswered to escape with a 38-31 win. But that Bengals offense looking like it's going to be a problem in the Big Sky Conference. Things didn't go quite as well for Portland State. The Vikings hosting 10th-ranked Tarleton State. They hung around in the first half, but Tarleton rolls to a 42-0 win.
Now everybody but Montana joins the fray this week. Chadron State at Northern Colorado, Montana State at Oregon. Northern Colorado and Montana State are in the early window. Bears hosting Chadron State at 1 o'clock, and the Bobcats kicking off at Oregon at 2. Meantime, Weber State at James Madison. Sac State heads to South Dakota State, and the action really heats up in the early evening. Weber State and James Madison kick off at 4. Sac State and third-ranked South Dakota go at 5.
Also at 5, Eastern Washington visits number 5 Incarnate Word, then Portland State's BYU. That's at 6 o'clock. Cal Poly starts its season at San Diego at 6 o'clock. Then Idaho State plays Southern Utah at 6:30. Southern Utah, remember, will be joining the Big Sky Conference, rejoining rather, in 2026. Also joining the Big Sky in 2026, Utah Tech. The Trailblazers host UC Davis at 8. Idaho makes the short trip to Washington State to try to upset that FBS opponent. And finally, Northern Arizona taking on Arizona State in a fun one to cap off the day. Kickoff scheduled for 8 o'clock on Saturday.
We're just getting started with the Big Sky Conference preview show. Coming up after the break, we check in with the Montana Grizzlies. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Big Sky Conference Football Preview Show.
Well, welcome back. Montana has an FCS record 28 playoff appearances. That includes last season with a 9-5 overall finish. That'll be a strong season for most FCS programs, but fans over in Missoula hold their Grizzlies to a higher standard. So Coach Bobby Hauck and company reloading after last year's second-round playoff exit. The Grizz brought in a heralded class of transfers led by Michael Wortham, who was an FCS All-American last season at Eastern Washington. Wortham should provide a dynamic element on offense as well, and is the return man on top of that. He's a dynamic dude. Big season also expected out of returning running back Eli Gilman. After sharing the backfield a year ago, he'll take the lead now behind a veteran offensive line this fall. Questions remain at quarterback, but whoever starts in week 1 will be playing with a talented offense.
On defense, the Grizz replacing their top 10 tacklers from a year ago. Linebacker Peyton Wings, he's the one to watch. Reeled in preseason accolades from Montana after spending last season at Portland State. He's part of a linebacking unit that will try to create some havoc this fall to lead that UM defense.
Well, there may be some fresh faces at Montana, but as always, expectations remain high for the Grizz, and their schedule should set them up for success. How about what Bobby Hauck did?
12 straight weeks of football for the Montana Grizzlies. That sits just fine with Coach Bobby Hauck, and our Kyle Hansen has more on how that schedule came about.
There's a number of storylines circling the Montana Grizzlies heading into the fall of 2025, but arguably the biggest one is the gauntlet UM will undergo with 12 straight weeks of games, starting on September 6th with Central Washington. But head coach Bobby Hauck has noted this happened before in his first stint at Montana. That came back in 2008, when ironically, the Grizzlies began the season September 6th of that year and played 12 straight games. They even played Central Washington that season in a close call by Montana, as the Grizz won the game by just 3 points in Missoula. But in 2025, the Grizz will begin their campaign against the Wildcats, the first of 4 straight games at home to start the season. UM will then rematch North Dakota in its second game as they look to avenge last year's loss, and that will be followed by a meeting with Indiana State, a team Montana beat in 2022. Rounding out that stretch will be the Big Sky opener with a rivalry matchup under the lights on national TV with Idaho. The first road game for Montana won't come until the month of October, when the Grizz head to Pocatello to take on Idaho State. Following that is 2 more home games, with Cal Poly followed by Sacred Heart in a non-conference contest. Back-to-back road trips will close out October and open November, as UM heads to Sacramento State and Weber State. After that, it's a home game against Eastern Washington, followed by a road contest at Portland State in Providence Park. And that'll lead to the granddaddy of them all, as Montana hosts rival Montana State for the 124th Brawl of the Wild on November 22nd. When the Grizzlies had this stretch in 2008, they made a run all the way to that year's national championship game, and now we'll try and replicate that success in 2025. Reporting in Missoula, Kyle Hansen, Scripps Sports.
Montana will open its season September 6th against Central Washington. We'll have that game right here on Scripps Sports.
Yeah, Tom, how about that? 0 bye weeks for the Grizz, but 8 home games. Well, it's a new era in college football, and the Grizz are like a lot of conference teams, entering with uncertainty at the game's most important position. Kali'i Ayat split time at quarterback with Logan Fife last season, and the redshirt sophomore has been battling USC transfer Jake Jensen during preseason practices this fall. Redshirt freshman Luke Flowers also in the mix. Bobby Hauck hasn't tipped his hand yet as to who will be the opening day starter or if the Grizz will play more than one quarterback. This is the 3rd straight season Montana's had QB questions. Clifton McDowell, of course, rescued the Grizz in 23 and led them all the way to the FCS championship game. And then Ayat and Fife shared duties last year.
The Grizz aren't alone in the Big Sky, though. Only Northern Arizona entered fall camp with its starting quarterback determined. Ty Pennington back for the Lumberjacks, who made the playoffs last year and were ranked 19th in this season's FCS preseason poll. Here's a look at the 2024 starting quarterbacks in the Big Sky and their 2025 status, along with Pennington, Cal Poly's Bo Kelly, and Northern Colorado's Kaya Keone are back with their teams, but both are entrenched in QB competitions like Ayat at Montana. Jack Wagner took meaningful snaps under center for Idaho last season, but he's also fighting to be this year's starter for the Vandals. Other than that, at least 7 teams will have a new starting quarterback this year.
There's good recruiters in this conference, and there's good coaches. Somebody's going to have one that takes off. And they go, I'll bet you this year. Well, we had that guy that did the betting yesterday. We can't bet, but I bet a quarterback this year is newcomer of the year, and I'm going to do everything in my power for it to be my guy. I was going to say,
Coming up, you'll hear from the Big Sky's most prolific returning QB as Grace Lawrence catches up with NAU's Ty Pennington. We're back after the break.
Welcome back to the Big Sky Conference Football Preview Show.
Welcome back to our Big Sky Conference Preview Show. After making the FCS playoffs last season, Northern Arizona was ranked inside the top 20 of this year's preseason polls. A big reason for the optimism, that's quarterback Ty Pennington. Our Grace Lawrence recently sat down with the Lumberjacks signal caller.
Ty Pennington, the 2024 Big Sky Newcomer of the Year, is coming off a strong first season at the helm with Northern Arizona and was quick to give credit to everyone around him.
Keep trusting the offense, keep trusting the coaches, trusting their game plan, trusting their coaching, and just give the ball to the guys that need it and let them go make plays. It all starts up front. It all starts, at the guys around you. So you're keeping trust in those around you is the biggest thing.
Pennington has been alongside his coach Brian Wright since both were at Pitt State before coming to NAU. The duo has been able to grow an immense amount of trust between each other.
And just the amount of trust I have in him. I've been under him, like I said, for 3 years, and he really knows what he's doing. He knows how to get guys open. He knows how to scheme against other defenses. So it's just been a great honor to learn from him. And, he's a player's coach. He cares about his guys. He loves his guys. So it's amazing to play under him.
You certainly have seen him grow just within the playbook in the scheme of things. But I really like what I see out of him as a teammate and as a leader of our team, and excited to watch him this fall.
The team is coming off a season where they finished 8-5 overall and made its first playoff appearance since 2017. A solid season, but this year the expectations are even higher.
We're not going to be excited to make the playoffs this year. That's going to be the foundation, and building and growing from that and making it further and getting to that trophy, playing in January.
So, doing the same things we did to get there, but improving on the areas we need to improve. Small things like, making your weight range, all that type of stuff. That just goes a long way. And I think that's one area that we can improve on to take us to the next step.
The Lumberjacks start the season on Saturday at Arizona State. For Scripps Sports, I'm Grace Lawrence.
NAU is ranked in the preseason top 25 for the first time since 2016.
And the Lumberjacks better be ready right out of the gate. After playing FBS Arizona State, their next 3 non-conference games are at Utah Tech, Southern Utah, and Incarnate Word. After winning their final 5 regular season games last year to reach the playoffs, the Jacks certainly won't sneak up on anybody this year. With offensive-minded coach Brian Wright now in his second season, expect Northern Arizona's offense to improve upon last year's middle-of-the-pack numbers. It's a veteran group with Pennington at quarterback, guys like Seth Smith and Ethan Kramer on the offensive line, and Colby Katzis at receiver.
The defense returns a handful of starters and a lot of experience, including lineman Micah Carrion and linebacker Brandon Wong, who are both preseason All-Big Sky selections. But NAU must replace standout defensive back Alex McLaughlin, who transferred to Washington, as well as leading tackler Tommy Ellis.
The Big Sky showcasing a lot of returning talent right now. After the break, we talk preseason awards. Stick around.
Welcome back to the Big Sky Conference Football Preview Show.
Well, welcome back, everybody. And long before games are played, college football's media enjoys creating a little bit of buzz with preseason polls and All-American lists. And, of course, the Big Sky Conference well represented. Take a look. The stats perform. All-American FCS poll. 13 players from the conference were named to it. All-Americans, in fact, including 4 each from Montana State and UC Davis. Bobcats' Taco Dowler and Titan Fleischman were first-team choices alongside Davis defensive back Rex Connors and Montana's all-purpose player Michael Wortham.
Montana State's Paul Brott and Adam Jones, and Davis's Hunter Ridley and Winston Williams, well, they made the second team, as did Sacramento State running back Jamar Curtis and Weber State offensive lineman Gavin Ortega. The third team included UC Davis linebacker Porter Connors, Montana linebacker Peyton Wing, and Grizzly running back Eli Gilman. Well, Montana State running back Adam Jones was also named the Big Sky's preseason MVP. The Missoula native set MSU freshman records last season by rushing for over 1,100 yards and scoring 14 times into the end zone. He added 21 catches for 214 receiving yards and was named the Big Sky's Freshman of the Year and a Freshman All-America as well. Now a sophomore, Jones will lead a Montana State running back group that also features Julius Davis, who missed much of last season with injuries. The Cats led the Big Sky and the FCS in rushing yards last season.
On the other side of the ball, UC Davis safety Rex Connors is the Big Sky preseason's defensive MVP. He's been around this league a long time with intent to create an Aggie legacy. You better believe it. Did you know he's a twin? Well, we had a fun visit with him last month at the Big Sky Kickoff in Spokane. If you're looking for Rex Connors on a football field, you have a couple obvious ways to find him. Jersey number, which is 4, or by the visibly long locks spilling from his helmet.
I saw Troy Polamalu with his long hair. I was like, you know, I want to have hair coming out of the back of my helmet.
Connors told us he trimmed it on a summer trip home, but said there's no way he chops it all off until his football career wraps up. You see him here, turning in a giant performance to beat the Grizz last season in Missoula. Connors also led a win over the highest-ranked team in school history, 5th-ranked Idaho. Closing last year's poll with their highest-ever ranking at number 5, Connors and the Aggies are no longer flying under the radar.
That's good. There's a lot of eyes on us. You know, I mean, some people take that as, oh, there's more pressure. It's just more of this is what we do. Now people are taking notice.
Among them, coaches at the power level. Connors and good friend Lan Larison, last season's Big Sky Offensive Player of the Year, could have quickly left UC Davis for big bucks.
If you create a good environment that the players want to be a part of, you know, then a lot of them won't want to leave. Guys like Rex and Lan are going to see that, and they're going to value it and say, hey, you know what, a couple $100,000 or 40, 50 years of impact, you know, I'm going to go with that.
Connors is staying for his senior season, hoping to help the Aggies to an even stronger finish. By the way, what you may not know, Rex is also a twin. His brother Porter plays right in front of him at linebacker.
You got a built-in best friend. I mean, he's always, especially going to the same school, playing ball with him for this long, like, I've been with him all my life.
And one of the noticeable differences,
he's a little dirtier than I am, so I got to keep it clean a little bit.
Just like he'll be trying to clean out opposing offenses this season. Though Connors says he genuinely enjoyed getting to know some of his rivals in July at the Big Sky Conference football kickoff in Spokane.
Kind of have some fun together, and then when you go back and you play against them, like you got a buddy to go say what's up to before and after the game, wish him luck.
Rex Connors, great player, great guy, great student athlete, and certainly a great rep for UC Davis and the Big Sky Conference as a whole.
Yeah, he's awesome. We actually had a chance to mic him up during the kids clinic at that Big Sky Conference kickoff. And well, the kids, they had a lot of fun with Rex. He's one to watch for sure. And his Aggies look like they'll be one of the top contenders in the Big Sky under first-year coach Tim Plow this season. They rolled up an 11-3 record and reached the quarterfinals of the FCS playoffs. Plow was on the short list for best coach in the country. He has some holes to fill this year, though. Quarterback Miles Hastings and do-everything running back Lan Larison, well, they both graduated, but Davis is just one of 3 teams in the country that returns all 5 starting offensive linemen. That's huge for first-year quarterback Caden Pinnock, who will rely on tight end Winston Williams and receiver Samuel Batu Jr.
And it's the Connors show on defense. The nation knows Rex is one of the best in the country, but his twin brother Porter's no slouch at linebacker. Last year's sack leader Sam Goligoski is also back, but the Aggies' defensive success will largely hinge on the impact of transfers.
The Big Sky is one of the top conferences in the FCS, but what makes it so competitive? We ask the coaches. That's next. Big Sky Conference Preview Show.
Welcome back to the Big Sky Conference Football Preview Show.
Well, welcome back. The Big Sky, of course, has proven to be one of the premier conferences in your FCS. It's a challenging league, top to bottom. So, at the Big Sky Kickoff, our Slim Kimmel asked coaches, what makes this league so competitive?
The Big Sky considers itself the deepest conference in the FCS, and why not? 5 teams from the league made the playoffs last year.
You just can't look at any team and think that, oh yeah, that should be a win. It's just, It's not that way anymore.
There's so much good ball in our conference. There's so many good coaches, so many good players. It's just a blessing to be a part of it, and it's something that keeps you on your toes because you're going to have to give it everything you got every single week.
And with 6 teams ranked inside the preseason top 25, this fall figures to be more of the same.
Real football games, real coaches, real players. We better have our crap together to go out there and get after it with these guys. I think there's some really quality football teams, and I'm excited to go out here and play in the best league in FCS.
All these guys do a fantastic job running their programs, and they're great players. You won't be a very good team if you don't have great players, and obviously this conference does a fantastic job of development, retention, and just recruiting at a high level. So it's a dogfight every week within the conference.
It always starts with the players. I mean, you got to have great players to be really competitive, and the Big Sky Conference has that. And then on top of that, you have to have really good coaching to put those players in situations that allow them to have that success, and we have that. And so when you combine that together along with just some great venues and great fan support, I think it makes for a really competitive league.
I always think every week you better bring your best because there's elite coaches top to bottom in this conference. They do a great job preparing their teams, and if you sleep for one day, these guys are going to get you.
While you can point to experienced, talented coaches in the conference, not to mention NFL caliber players, the reality is that football simply means more in the Big Sky than most other FCS leagues.
There's a lot of traditional rivalry. Numerous of these teams have been in the league since 1963, which is before all of us were born, even me. That's why it's a good league, and the following's strong, and I think that's why we fare well in terms of playoff selection and winning games in the playoffs.
There's so many storied programs in this conference. There's not that much football on the West Coast anymore. I know the landscape has totally changed, but the Big Sky is a bastion of quality football west of the Mississippi.
Slim Kimmel, Scripps Sports.
Geography certainly plays a part, but the Big Sky is also so dominant. Teams often struggle to schedule non-conference opponents, even with the FCS administrators across the country practically begging for marquee matchups.
The coaches in the Big Sky Conference are some of the best in the FCS. Montana State's Brent Vigen was the National Coach of the Year last season. Montana's Bobby Hauck, the winningest coach in Big Sky Conference history. But there are, and there always have been, other big-time coaches in the conference. Bruce Barnum at Portland State, the longest tenured. He heads into year number 11. Aaron Best isn't far behind at Eastern Washington. He's entering his 9th season as the Eagles head coach. Hauck is in year 8 of his 2nd stint at Montana, and Vigen is on his 5th season with the Bobcats. You have coaching veterans Paul Wolf at Cal Poly and Ed Lamb at Northern Colorado, and then rising stars like Cody Hawkins at Idaho State, Tim Plow at UC Davis, Mickey Mental at Weber State, and Brian Wright at Northern Arizona. The only new faces in the league are Brennan Marion at Sacramento State and Thomas Ford Jr. at Idaho.
We'll introduce you to Ford and Marion, both of them, the two, when we come back. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the Big Sky Conference Football Preview Show.
Well, 2 coaches are making their debuts as head man of the Big Sky Conference squads this season. Brennan Marion took the reins from Andy Thompson at Sacramento State, and Thomas Ford Jr. replaced the always popular Jason Eck at the University of Idaho. Ford is returning to Moscow after spending the 2024 season coaching the running backs at Oregon State. He was Idaho's special teams coordinator and running backs coach in 2022 and 23, where his units were among the best in the Big Sky Conference and the FCS in general.
Moscow's pretty special to me. Been to the place so many times over my lifetime starting in high school, but my family loves it. It's a great family in terms of the fan base, and so being able to be the head football coach at the University of Idaho is definitely a blessing, and I'm very excited about this season.
Ford takes over a program that steadily improved each of the past 3 years, closing 10-4 a season ago. Vandals were the number 8 seed for your FCS playoffs before losing at Montana State in the quarterfinals. Ford now tasked with keeping that upward momentum, and he did well holding on to a strong core from last season. Idaho has 56 guys back who took snaps a year ago, including running back Nate Thomas and Elijah Cummings, who combined to rush for more than 1,000 yards. Starting at quarterback will likely be Fresno State transfer Joshua Wood. He appeared in 13 games last fall for the Bulldogs.
On the defensive side, big seasons expected from defensive lineman Zach Croster, linebacker Isaiah King, and Ford likes his team's depth on the edge. But the Vandals will have 4 new starters in the secondary, with transfers Hyson Dalton and Zach Woostig figuring into that mix.
The other new face on Big Sky sidelines will be one and done, but Brennan Marion brings a lot of excitement and swag to Sacramento State. The Pennsylvania native likened his coaching career to the Oregon Trail. He just keeps heading west. He had 5 offensive players earn all-conference recognition as part of his go-go offense last season at UNLV, and he's coached receivers like former NFL first-round picks Xavier Worthy and Jordan Addison.
Marion hit the ground running at Sac State, bringing in a well-regarded class of transfers and more than 70 new players overall. There won't be many familiar names back for the Hornets, but the offensive line does bring back 3 starters from a year ago. Marion loves his stable of running backs, which includes transfer Jamar Curtis, who was an All-American and 2-time Walter Payton Award finalist while at Lafayette. A starting quarterback hasn't been named, but Jaden Rashada, a former 4-star recruit who transferred from Georgia, is the favorite.
Sac State's defense has just as many unknowns, but if early reports out of fall camp are any indication, it might be ahead of its offense at this juncture. The trio of transfers, Chris Ross, Dylan Hampston, and Dylan Gooden, are already making noise on the edge, and Sincere Massey could be a handful in the middle of that D-line. No shortage of talent on the roster, but the Hornets need to mesh quickly. They open the season at 3rd-ranked South Dakota State on Saturday.
We mentioned Brennan Marion going to be one and done in the Big Sky Conference for Sacramento State. The Hornets are trying their darndest to move up to the FBS level, but there's a lot of obstacles standing in their way. It's no secret that Sacramento State has ambitions to take their football team to the FBS level, but the route they're taking is raising some eyebrows. Without an invitation to an FBS conference, the Hornets applied for a waiver to compete as an FBS independent, and this summer the NCAA denied that request to reclassify, but rather than stay in the Big Sky, Sac State opted to compete as an FCS independent next year.
Yeah, we've had conversations with, President Wood at Sac State since he got there, so none of it was really a surprise to us. His path was very clear.
Big Sky Commissioner Tom Wistersill said the timing of Sac State's departure wasn't shocking, though it leaves the league adjusting, adding Southern Utah and Utah Tech to shore up football and other sports.
We were going to fall below the NCAA automatic qualifier number, and so that gave us the ability to shore up our numbers.
First-year Hornets head coach Brennan Marion says the momentum and dreams of a bigger stage is energizing the program despite the setback.
I love to be in a place where guys are trying to, reach the highest level and get after it and go for big things. And so our players, they've been excited about all the things coming and things to look forward to.
But not everyone believes moving away from the Big Sky guarantees greener pastures. UC Davis head coach Tim Plow, a rival across the causeway, hopes the matchup continues.
I'm really hopeful that at least we get to play them every year still. If they leave the conference, that rivalry is so important to the community in that region. I hope that continues. There is no FBS, FCS. You're either in the Power 4 or you're not. And if you're not, everyone's in the same bucket. And this conference is so unique and so challenging and so competitive. Why would you not want to be a part of it?
For now, Sac State is preparing for one final season in the Big Sky before an uncertain future as an independent while keeping their long-term FBS ambitions alive. Tom Wiley, Scripps Sports. Sacramento State didn't have a single All-Big Sky Conference preseason selection, but a lot of people who are very smart about things in the Big Sky predicting them to make quite a bit of noise. They opened the season against South Dakota State.
Eager to see it, and of course with the Hornets departing the Big Sky after this season, just how stable is the conference with that Wild West era of college football? We dive in after the break.
Welcome back to the Big Sky Conference Football Preview Show.
Well, welcome back, everybody. NIL, revenue sharing, conference realignment. It's an unprecedented era of college athletics, and it feels a little bit like the small guy might be getting left behind.
Yeah, the Big Sky says not so fast, though. Commissioner Tom Wistrcill and his staff have worked to ensure the conference has a seat at the table and have gone so far as to label FCS football real college football. Our Slim Kimmel takes a look at just where the Big Sky fits in the big picture.
We know who we are. We have very specific goals as a conference, and that's to win an FCS championship and participate at a really high level in Division I athletics in all other sports.
It was almost a mic drop moment for Big Sky Conference Commissioner Tom Wistrcill. We know who we are. Despite the evolving nature of college athletics, the Big Sky is comfortable with its place in the landscape.
Too many guys are complaining about the money and the transferring, and well, my biggest focus is to just love the players, try to take care of them, create a good environment for them.
The core of what we're doing doesn't change. Is we gotta develop and mentor young men as best as we can. We gotta compete and do the best we can every single day, and that's what I love about the Big Sky, because I think that the purity of the student athlete experience is still there. We have resources. You are talking a little bit about NIL. You are talking about the cost of attendance and revenue sharing, but that's not all you're doing.
The Big Sky isn't perfect. Half of its 12 teams opted into the House settlement, half opted out, which means the league's teams aren't using the same playbook this season. Wistrcill expects that to change next year.
You got great leadership within the Big Sky, from the top down, from obviously the commissioner to the administration, and then the AD. So I think the Big Sky will always be in a good spot.
There's many schools that are really committed to football. I think that's the underlying piece, and it's a situation where football success is expected at a lot of schools, and with that you get, the investment necessary to, do everything you can to match those expectations.
Our donors stepped up to help build a new facility. Now we have to continue that and help with the enhancement of our scholarships and the revenue and the NIL still.
In the meantime, the conference is focused on creating the best college football league in the West.
You can't tell me that the Big Sky isn't as good as the Mountain West right now anyway. And I would tell you that if the Big Sky just merged with the Mountain West and we all played each other, I bet a Big Sky team would win that conference anyway, right? So I think the level of football here is as high as it can be underneath the Power 4 teams.
It might not be all equal off the field, but we played by the same guidelines when we're on it. It's still 4 downs. Touchdowns are still 6 points. Extra points are 1. Field goals are 3. All that stuff is not a talking point when you actually lace it up and you actually go out there, flip a coin, and find out who's kicking or who's receiving.
Slim Kimmel, Scripps Sports.
Big Sky football is strong as ever, and the conference seems like it's in a good spot, but things can change on a dime in this current landscape.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, to that end, the Big Sky prepared itself for the future this summer, announcing that Utah Tech and Southern Utah will be joining the conference in 2026. The addition of the Utah schools will give the Big Sky 11 full members and 13 football playing members. For Southern Utah, it'll be a return to the Big Sky. The Thunderbirds were previously in the conference from 2012 to 2022. Utah Tech new to the FCS level. The Trailblazers previously competed at the Division II level and completed their transition to NCAA Division I athletics in 2024.
After the break, we take a look at the former Big Sky players now in the NFL. Final cuts were made to 53 on Tuesday. How many guys can you name? After the break.
Welcome back to the Big Sky Conference Football Preview Show.
Montanans were glued to the NFL preseason this year as Billings native Junior Bergen and Butte's Tommy Mellott battled for roster spots with the San Francisco 49ers and the Las Vegas Raiders, respectively.
Yeah, I was down in Las Vegas just a couple weeks ago for that 49ers-Raiders affair and had a chance to chat with both guys after the game. They're not the only former Big Sky stars, though, or Montanans with NFL shots. Remember when Troy Anderson played quarterback, running back, and linebacker at Montana State? The Dillon native, drafted in 22 by Atlanta, is still a Falcon. He's battling some injuries, but has still managed to play 26 games, even delivering a 47-yard pick six last season. Alex Singleton is back for his 4th year with the Denver Broncos. A testament to Singleton, he played 3 years in the CFL mid-career, then bounced right back to the NFL. Former Bobcat defensive end Daniel Hardy is on the active roster and entering his third season with the Chicago Bears. Former MSU defensive back Ty Okada showcased a terrific preseason. It's paying off. He made the 53-man roster to open his third year as a safety for the Seattle Seahawks. And how about this? The New England Patriots had 6 former Big Sky players to open training camp. Former Eastern Washington receiver Efton Chisholm III, along with Cal Poly defensive end Elijah Ponder, are on the roster. Idaho's Christian Ellis and Sac State's Martin Mapu are still with the Patriots, along with UC Davis running back Lan Larison, who's on injured reserve, but on the roster. And of course, Weber State alum Rashid Shaheed signed undrafted with New Orleans back in 2022. And the first team All-Pro from a couple years ago is still with the Saints. Cooper Kupp is in a different uniform now after spending his first 8 years with the Rams, where he was a Super Bowl MVP 3 years ago. The Eastern Washington alum is now a little closer to home. He's a Seattle Seahawks wide receiver at 32 years old. NFL teams cut their rosters down to 53 players on Tuesday, and we'll share the full list of Big Sky NFL players at montanasports.com.
Well, coming up, we look beyond the Big Sky and go around the entire FCS. We're back after the break.
Welcome back to the Big Sky Conference Football Preview Show.
Well, the FCS got started with an eye-popping result in Week 0 as 5th-ranked Incarnate Word lost at Nichols in an early Southland Conference matchup. Cardinals were behind North Dakota State, Montana State, South Dakota State, and South Dakota in that Stats Perform FCS preseason top 25. It's the 8th time the Bison have been the preseason #1 team, and they return 11 starters from last year's title team.
Yeah, the Bison, the Jackrabbits, and the Yotes gave the Missouri Valley Football Conference 3 teams in the top 4, and Illinois State ranked 6th, but the Big Sky led the FCS with 6 teams. That's half the league in the top 25. Montana, UC Davis, Idaho, and Northern Arizona will make the FCS playoffs. They made it last year. Sac State struggled in 2024, but the Hornets have been the talented team in the preseason that people are predicting to be one of the top teams in the country.
Hornets visiting SDSU in the marquee game on your FCS schedule this weekend. That one kicks off at 5:15 Mountain, plus it'll air on ESPN+. Won't take us long to learn if the Hornets are a big game contender this season. Number 14 Lehigh hosts number 25 Richmond in the other ranked versus ranked matchup. And they're scheduled to get underway at 10 a.m. Saturday out east.
That's right. Top-ranked NDSU begins its title defense at the Citadel at 10 o'clock. Meanwhile, number 4 South Dakota will travel to Iowa State, the 22nd ranked FBS squad. And 2 more Missouri Valley teams are facing ranked FBS opponents. Illinois State playing number 18 Oklahoma. North Dakota visits number 17 Kansas State. Remember, those are in addition to Montana State playing number 7 Oregon and Northern Arizona playing 11th ranked Arizona State.
Well, that's all this weekend. Technically week 1 of the college football season. Next week, we kick off our Scripps Sports broadcast schedule of games. We'll have 19 of them this fall. That's right, the most since we've had since becoming the league's official partner.
And what a way to start. We have 2 primetime games on Saturday, September 6th. Montana State hosting South Dakota State in what should be a doozy of a Gold Rush game in Bozeman. And then in Missoula, the Grizzlies host Central Washington. Both games scheduled to start at 6 o'clock, and they'll both be broadcast by Scripps Sports.
Speaking of the Grizzlies, let's take a look at their broadcast schedule. We have 10 of their 12 games this season, including all 4 non-conference games. They get another prime time slot at Idaho State on October the 4th. And then, of course, the biggie, that Brawl of the Wild on November 22nd.
Yeah, for the Bobcats, they'll broadcast 3 of their non-conference games, 7 of their Big Sky matchups. MSU will have a primetime game with Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo on October 25. And they're in Missoula for the Brawl after winning last year's rivalry game 34-11.
Bring on college football. It is here, my friend.
It is here. We are in it. We are fully in this thing. Big Sky Conference all season long on Scripps Sports. Going to be another fantastic season.
That's right. Look forward to bringing it to you. For Tom Wiley, I'm Scott Breen. Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll see you next week with the start of your Big Sky Conference season.
Find more highlights along with in-depth sports coverage anytime at montanasports.com.